This is something that I wanted to do for a long time. Somehow I just never got to it. So what happened? Well, pandemic started and traveling stopped. So that was my kick in the pants and I got on the road. So we are going to the Avenue of the Giants, and this will be a beautiful trip into a national park, the park in Northern California. The Living Chimney Tree at the Avenue of the Giants. Let's check it out. Let's go in and let's have a look. And that is all that's to it. The tree is hollow. The tree is really massive. It's absolutely huge. Just look at the size of this boy. And here is what's around it. Small kitschy stores. This is an ancient forest, also called old growth forest. And what does it mean? Well, ancient forest describes a forest that has the following characteristics. There are trees of all ages, as you can see. There are many layers of canopy, which is uppermost branchy layer. There are large standing dead trees called snags and large downed logs. Also there are large fallen logs in the streams and trees ages over 200 years old at least. Due to climatic changes and other factors, coast redwoods now only grow naturally in a narrow 40-mile wide and 450-mile long coastal strip from southern Oregon to southern Monterey County in California. And the trees, the redwoods, are so immense, so tall that they live in 3 climatic zones at once. The base of each tree is one set of climatic conditions, the stem is in another, and the crown in yet another. So people, we have been walking in this semi-shaded moist environment on the ground. And when you look into the uppermost branches of the trees, those branches can be experiencing cool, moist conditions at their base, but at the top they are or can be in dry, windy conditions. And therefore they have 2 types of needles. Needles growing on most of the tree branches are broad and flat, so they can catch more available sunlight. However, needles at the top or near the top have tight fish scale-like spikes, which reduces evaporative surfaces for the drier conditions found there in the sun and in the wind. And redwoods need great amounts of moisture. The 65 inches per year average rainfall plus the summer fog moderate the climate. A very large redwood can release up to 500 gallons of water into the air per day. So just to measure the scale of how huge this tree is or was, you can imagine. And of course, idiots are everywhere writing their names where they shouldn't. Jeff and Kelly, 13, RNG, and so on. Not nice. This place really deserves the name Avenue of the Giants. The diameter of this fallen tree is bigger than I'm told. The death of a tree is the birth of a log or a snag. Dead trees are essential to the health of the forest, and they are the basis for its astonishing productivity. Fallen trees are a substantial reservoir of organic matter and water that other plants and trees depend on. The nutrients the forest requires are not only in the soil, but also in the living and dead plant material itself. As trees and plants die and decay, they are recycled to the living forest. With this highly efficient system, I should say, the forest feeds itself, wasting nothing. And as a tree slowly decays, it becomes a nursery for plants. It may take 400 years or longer to become incorporated into the forest floor. During this time, a variety of shrubs and trees have the opportunity to develop part or all of their root systems within the decaying wood. It has been estimated that there are 1,700 species of plants and animals that depend on a tree during its lifespan. There are over 600 living on a snag, but over 4,000 species living in or on a downed tree. As these trees get older, some can no longer withstand winds and rain. These trees give up their spot in the sun and fall to the forest floor. This huge tree fell in 1991. Over the years, large trees have fallen in this area, creating an opening in the forest canopy. Before this tree fell, it was at least 362 feet tall. This is 200 feet taller than Niagara Falls, or you can compare it to a 30-story building. It's 17 feet in diameter, 52 feet in circumference, and probably weighs over 1,000,000 pounds, which is almost 500,000 kilograms. And the events that caused this giant to fall are common in ancient redwood forest. During the rainy season, the soil became saturated with water. Another large tree fell 1 week earlier, hitting a second tree, causing it to lean. A week later, the leaning tree fell, striking this giant, causing it to fall. No one actually saw the giant fall, but a park neighbor who lives a mile away, reporting hearing a large crash and thought it was a train wreck. A tree over 50 feet away had mud splattered 15 feet up its trunk from the impact of the giant hitting the ground. And unless fire consumes it, this fallen giant will continue to lie here on the forest floor for many hundreds of years, fulfilling an important role in the healthy life of an ancient forest. As the decay process gains a hold on the giant, it will become the host, home, and food source for over 4,000 kinds of plants and animals that will live on or in it. So it's very important. Redwood roots grow slowly, only a few feet down into the soil, but they can grow laterally 100 feet or more. They also can intertwine and graft onto one another, thus helping to hold each other up. It is interesting to see the progression of plants growing in the mineral soil pit created by the giant's fall. And yes, people like to come here, but it's absolutely not overcrowded in any place so far. Humboldt Redwoods State Park. This is Founder's Grove. In 1917, several men traveled to Humboldt to view those redwood groves. And when they found that these trees were not protected, they formed the Save the Redwoods League to preserve representative areas of this forest. By 1921, I think, the first grove was purchased by the League in what is now Humboldt Redwoods State Park. So they had the foresight to preserve all this. And since then, the League has contributed over $57 million to protect 170,000 acres of redwood land in the 35 California state parks. When the Europeans came to the West, when they settled the West, they cut redwood trees because it was a great resource for them. They used it for shipbuilding, for building houses and whatnot, and no one really, or at least not many people, had the foresight to preserve those trees, even though it takes hundreds of years for them to grow to the size. Redwoods live a long time because they have very few enemies. Fire is one of the major threats to all trees. However, only the greatest fire can kill mature redwoods because of their thick, fire-resistant bark and lack of resin. Many of the older trees, as I saw and everyone can see, have fire scars. And redwoods have a large amount of tannin, which has nothing to do with fire, but it's a material that insects find very distasteful. While insects cause a huge amount of mortality in other trees, redwoods are rarely bothered, and that's a good thing, good chance for survival. This tree had a lot of injuries, and it is an old growth. It's really amazing. course, is huge and tall, scarred and damaged by fire, as all of them are over the hundreds and thousands of years. But it's just amazing tree. The Avenue of the Giants is almost 32 miles long. That's about 50 kilometers. And it gives me time as I'm driving out to contemplate, to think about this whole area and some related things. And the question is, so, was it worth it? Should you visit? And did you enjoy the video? I hope the answer is yes to all of the above. People created many amazing things over the centuries worth seeing. This was not one of them. Quite the contrary, people almost destroyed what Mother Nature created. But thanks to several people 100 years ago who had sufficient foresight that regular folks did not have, we still have something to treasure and admire. So, see you next time. I certainly hope you liked it, and if you did, or if you did not, let me know. Bye bye now.